All
Yeah, I
right.
remember there was one guy who was saying it doesn't matter how good your vision is. By the time you get into your 40s and 50s, it's going to be you're going to need readers. And when I was younger, I was just like, okay, well, we'll see. But the explosion kind of sped up my curve. That's where I finally started having visual, issues.
Do you use
Do
the
you think it was
blue
that, or do
blockers?
you think maybe it was just a convenient sort of, because
Well, according to
ocular
the
degeneration is what we're talking about, and if that's, you know what I mean? I'm just wondering how much of that is causation, but correlation without causation. Maybe you know what I mean? Like maybe you were degrading, and it just sort of made it more. Were you aware of it at that point? Or do you like there was
no,
no
it was actually perfect.
really?
Like I could even read small, fine print, on bottles and everything, like right here. What really happened? So at first, after the explosion, the first thing that was noticeable was that I couldn't have anything closer than about 18 inches to my face, because once it gets too close, then I start to have double vision. And that's where one of the doctors said, it was an autophase thing where there's a disruption between the two sides of the brain connecting imagery and auditory cues together. So that was the first thing. And then so I went and got an eye exam done. And one eye has a different astigmatism than the other eye does. They both have astigmatism now. And that was something that I didn't have before. And the doctor there just kind of chalked it up to, well, you're old. And so I was like, yeah, I get it. But, yeah. And this was one of the doctors that it was part of the DBA process. So I was just kind of like, I get what you're saying, Doc, but at the same token, my vision did not have this before. So, but where it really kicks in is if I start to get really mentally fatigued or have a headache. It got bad enough. Like one time I was having a migraine and I was driving and I could not read the highway signs. They were completely blurry. And right now that I'm all relaxed, I mean, I can read far away. I can, read, our names on our, little windows and stuff. But I still can't read up close because once I get the, bottle too close to actually read it, then it's double vision and blurry. And so there is a part of it that I'm sure there is the ocular degeneration that's natural, but now it's kind of hard to decipher where the line is between one and the other.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of where I was. Maybe that's where I was trying to go with that. You know what I mean? Like how much of it's like that, and how much of it was just a wonder. What were you gonna say, Bo?
Yeah.
Do you for the glasses you have now, do you have the blue blockers on them?
Are you talking about the blue tinted ones or the blue blocker
The blue
feature?
blocker, so it blocks out the blue lights that you get like from a lot
Um,
of screens and stuff like that.
I don't have that, but I do turn that feature on for my phone and my iPad.
I would look if you're using readers, like especially when you're on your phone and iPad, I would look into it because I was having headaches when I was using just my readers.
Mhm.
And my prescription is almost exactly what the readers were that I was using. I mean, it was just a little bit off. But I opted for the blue blocker, and that changed a lot with kind of my midday headaches that I was getting. And a lot of it was just that blue light, and I can notice a difference when I'm doing things with my regular readers that than these that I will get a headache later in the day.
Yeah. I will say that if I try to read any material for any length of time, then I'm going to need to put on my glasses, and that could be more chalked up to the ocular degeneration factor.
The gift of violence.
This
Okay.
one I just started.
I mean, violence always has a negative connotation, but there's a necessary component. I mean, otherwise we wouldn't have been employed like we were.
Yeah, it goes into. I mean, I'm not really too in depth into it yet, so I don't really want to dig into what it is without understanding it. But you know, like you just said, it's a very natural part of our evolution that's been tried to be suppressed, and you know, being a gentle man has sort of been the how do you say, the feminization of you know, demasculination of society, you know, where men are thought of as poisonous and toxic, you know what I mean? Like, to be masculine is to be, you know, this anti this and anti that, you're a hateful person and blah blah blah, you know what I mean? And this world was built by fucking monsters, you know. It's
Absolutely.
you know, it is
Most of our
is.
innovation comes out of military and space travel shit.
Yeah.
So,
So,
I mean,
you know, without the monsters, all the fucking other shit's going to take over. You know, who's going to go
Yeah.
out there and hunt that shit down? You know what I
you know
mean?
what I am curious about?
Fucking laws aren't going to do it.
No, no.
Has
Yeah,
to
I
be
mean,
balance.
there are necessary monsters, and you know, you have to make right with that. I mean, you know, the idea of world peace is a great notion. I think even we would love to see the, you know, world peace come to life, but we also are pragmatic in knowing that it'll never happen because there's a human component. I mean, you want world peace, get rid of all of the humans. That's it. I mean, but on the I wonder if that book or another book actually covers the idea, because think about how between, like, you know, kids playing war or cops and robbers or any other variant of that, and then you move into, you know, the adult version of that, which is playing paintball or modern warfare, you know, on the games and stuff, where you have people that are curious about violence but they don't have the guts to put their skin in the game, and so they're looking for that taste, trying to satiate something. I wonder if there's something to that.
You know, that brings up an interesting point. And I don't want you to think this is a shot because it's certainly not. But when you said that, it brought up an interesting point. I know you weren't referencing this, but you know, I almost joined the military, and I know that sounds like one of those fucking dudes,
Oh
you
no.
know what I mean? But like, I almost did, and I remember because I mean, I grew up, you know, here it is Father's Day, so um, I think the first time I met my father, I was like maybe 6 years old, and I had no idea who he was when we were living in Florida, and he showed up, basically kidnapped us, me and two of my two sisters, and we get up to Georgia, and he's drunk, has a car wreck, and you know, the only thing I knew was this stranger guy was saying, "I'm your dad." You know what I mean? I didn't know who this cat was. Anyway, he gets arrested, gets sent to jail. We go in an orphanage, you know, and so from then on, it was just that sort of same kind of shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I didn't have anybody to take me by the hand, show me right and wrong. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So when I didn't join the military, for me, it wasn't about fear or cowardice, any of that. It just never entered my mind in that way. You know what I mean? It was just about what was practical and what was impractical at that particular point. And then later on, it got to be something that I really regretted not doing. So then, you know, when the opportunity arose to go into contract work, and I mean, man, I fit in like a fucking what peas and carrots, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just
No,
something.
you really did.
I wish I'd stayed in it. I wish I'd gone in it back then. You know what I mean? It would have been a perfect career for me.
I mean, you know, that obviously what you did miss was the uber disciplined bullshit, you know, games that we played in the military. But there was a large part of you, like, had you told me that you were in the military, I would have believed it from the jump, because the way you carried yourself with the confidence in both disciplines of medical and armed conflict. You know, there was never a moment where I was like, this cat ever do any military time or anything? You know, I never had that, and so it was actually really nice and refreshing that you never put on that pretense like from the jump. I mean, of course, your hip pocket response was, "No, I just got the fuck out of prison." That was always fun to watch. But in all seriousness, though,
I think that.
yeah,
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I had assumed you were in something.
I think that's one of the reasons that it got along so well, and that people were, because every time I hit the ground somewhere, I never tried to be anything I wasn't. You know what I mean? I never said that
Mm,
I was this or that or whatever. I mean, I was just completely honest every time, and because of that, I think I had a lot better time with people as far as like trying to be helpful and trying to train me and their help me fill gaps and things. And I mean, y'all know the environment. I mean, I worked with some of the greatest dudes, man, and a lot of those cats were, tier one guys, and
yeah,
not one. I mean, there were obviously some incidences, but not one person minded helping me polish my skills.
right.
Always more than willing to help. I mean,
Well, that's a
when I
testament to
took over
you and them.
Yeah,
that site for that ABP program as the lead medic, the reason I was the lead medic didn't have anything to do with my skills, maybe a little bit, but you know what I mean. But it had to do with the fact that I had a paramedic license, because
right.
at that time you had to have a license to be a medic. You had to.
Yep.
Requirement.
Yeah.
So I had 18 Deltas, and I had SEAL medics, and I had, I had tier one guys in there supporting me,
Hmm.
taking orders from me, but that were working with me. You know what I mean?
Right.
And man, there was so many things I did in my early years because of that relationship with those guys that pushed me to a level of being a medic that even now when I talk to medics back here, they don't understand. Like some of the things we did were fucking surgical
Oh
procedures.
yeah.
You know,
Oh yeah.
I mean, we went well, way outside the fucking boundaries.
Yeah. The gloves literally do come off when you're downrange. And I mean, that was one of the things that I did enjoy about being in the military, is because even in that environment, yeah, there were some protocols, like you still had to have medical direction and all that stuff. But once you got blessed off by the doctor that you worked under, man, you could do some high level shit. I mean, I basically was doing physician's assistant level shit in almost every discipline of medicine there was.
Were
And
you an IDC?
no,
Well,
no,
see, for me,
I
go ahead. Sorry.
oh, I was just gonna say, I actually, if I had been smart, maybe I probably should have stayed in after I busted up my ankles. Because I had 11 and a half years in, and I didn't want to drive a desk for the other 8.5 years. And I would have had to go through at least a year of IDC training to get that. And I was just, it didn't turn me on. And I didn't really want to pursue high levels of medicine in the civilian sector because of the bureaucracy and depressing posture that civilian medicine takes in America. It's just, it's expensive. You got the insurance that tells you how to do medicine. You got there's just so many factors to it. I was just like, I was kind of out on it,
Sure.
and so that's why contracting kind of appealed to me, because I didn't have to go hump the many miles or do the dangerous inserts extractions that were going to fuck up my ankles and knees or anything else worse. But still get to operate at a high level with a good bunch of dudes that had the same background, and
Sure.
so that's kind of why I went that direction naturally. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. What do you think, John? I mean, about seeing medicine in that environment versus medicine being practiced here in America.
Oh, it's just night and day. It's amazing to me. And I still
Just
tell
so that,
people the story about, I had a slush fund. Um, Most of the time we would, whenever we'd go to the range, which we went to the range a lot, we would sell the brass. We'd police the brass and sell it. And we had a pretty decent slush fund, you know what I mean? And so I think I had $1,000 a month, maybe, if I'm remembering correctly. I think it was $1,000 a month that I had in my budget that was off the books. And so I made lists. Me and some of the other cats would make lists, but I would send people into town with that money, terps and whatnot, and they would go shopping. So we colored way outside the fucking lines. I mean, we colored way outside the fucking lines, but it was never reckless. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was never just disregard for accepted practices. It was just outside the scope, way outside.
Right. The certification level of shit, right?
Yeah,
Like
Right.
there's
and
a
I
difference
had
between
so
being
many
qualified
guys
versus
over me.
certified.
Yeah, I had so many guys over me that were way more competent. You know, like Tony Z, he was an IDC, and he was
Yeah.
with us. He was with us at Nangarhar, and man, just super duper fucking guy, and bunch of different cats, man. But yeah, I mean, the only reason I was ever thought of as a strong medic was because of cats like that. You know what I mean? Just and I never said no.
Yeah.
You never brought me a problem we couldn't figure it out. Wherever you
It's
want to go, however
interesting.
you want to do it, we'll figure it out. You know what I mean?
It's interesting looking at the medics, you know, like with y'all, there was a lot more, I don't know, as far as like training amongst medics, it was always a more of a camaraderie.
Oh yeah.
Whereas, you know, because you could have, you know, yourself as a paramedic, you know, Navy corpsman, you know, Air Force, whatever, you know, the case may be, you know, of all these different backgrounds. They always be like, oh, let's trade ideas and do all of this. Whereas you get a room full of shooters from different backgrounds, they'll argue over whose way is better. You know, so
Well,
it's interesting seeing the medic side.
honestly, you know, I have to agree to a certain degree with you on that because I think that's why like Looney did so well because in medicine, for the patient's sake, you have to set aside your ego. Now we do see egomaniacs in medicine
Sure.
for sure, but if you really are a practitioner of medicine, you got to set aside your ego. And you know, I loved learning something new, a new way to do something, whether it was more efficient or just even a different attack at the same problem. Like, and I took that into my shooter perspective, and that's why I learned. I learned from cops, Army, you know, Air Force guys. You know, if they had something to offer, whether it was you know shooting or medicine, I would listen. It was just when it got to the point of you know trying to teach me combos, I said, guys, I'm a lost fucking cause. Don't try to teach me
Yeah,
comms.
I'm
I'm gonna
fucking
fuck
done
it
for
up.
that shit.
Well, and that goes back to earlier when I'd said that, you know, when Looney said it was because of other people, you know, kind of teaching him different things along the way. And I said that was a testament to him and to them. You know, is just to always be teachable, you know, no matter what
Yeah.
you're doing in life, you know, and strong leaders or, you know, competent people will recognize that and they'll help and build up. And, you know,
Right.
it's just,
Well,
it's
and you were no
important.
three bang bang, right?
No, I was a fucking Amtracker.
Oh, really?
So yeah, no, and I
But
honestly I went to work with BW on my first one as just a static contract down there in Hilla.
okay.
And then they were standing up the PSD team, and that was when they asked me to come over to that. But I originally went over just, you know, because I was just a basic fucking Marine, you know, nothing
That's how I got
special.
into it too. I went over doing static, running the Ugandans and shit. You know, in Iraq,
Yeah.
and then Don.
Well, John will attest.
Sending a resume for whips with Don, and got picked.
John can attest to this. I remember we had a couple of tier one dudes in our MRAP team when I became an MRAP team leader, and I started pulling in guys that were way out, like not even tier two guys, like and I don't mean that disrespectfully. I mean, guys like yourself, Bugs,
Okay.
that got guys that didn't fucking thump their chest, that were not teachable to new SOPs. Guys that were just like happy to have the job and willing to do. Hey, this is what we're doing. As long as they could put rounds on target and take direction and give feedback. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted on the team. And I wanted guys that had a different angle of looking at things. So if we had a bunch of guys that were all fucking, Delta Force, or a bunch, or they were all Ranger or all SEAL, then all we'd be doing is the old tactics of this one box, where I saw guys that were outside of those things providing a different angle. And like, oh, that's something I hadn't thought about before, because I spent 11 and a half years with the Marines, learning it the Marine way. And
Sure.
so, that's what I appreciated was, I even said it, and I don't know if you were there, John. I said, I don't give a shit if I hear a good take from a PFC, as long as he has the balls to say it and I hear it. I'm like, all right, we're going to give that a shot. And if it works, I'm going to make sure everybody knows it was his idea, because
No,
I don't need to take.
I'd totally steal the idea.
I mean,
Fuck that guy.
my
Fucking
first
private. Fuck that
C1, my first C1, when I switched over to PSD down there in Hilla, when we stood that up. So I was actually, we stood up the static there originally, and then we stood up the original PSD team down there. But K2 was who ended up being the C1 of the PSD team.
Yeah.
And if I'd have had anybody else that would have stepped in as the leader of that, I'd have been shit canned right out of there. But I just went in and I was a sponge, thankful to have the job, and I ended up being the lead driver there for a long time for him. Like the first time we went out and I'm driving, and he's like, okay, left turn 50 meters, and I'm making my left turn. He's yelling, "Where the fuck you going, bugger? What are you doing?" And I'm losing my mind. So I'm thinking I'm getting fucking fired. And he's just yelling at me the entire drive. We get on venue, drop clients, go in, they do their thing, and load back up, ride home, same fucking thing. I'm getting yelled at the entire way. So we get back there to Hilla, and we're unloading there at the Rio, and I'm kind of hanging back as K2's getting all his stuff out, and everybody's kind of taking all their shit, going to their hooches, and we were going to do our debrief. And everybody's gone. I was like, "Hey, K2, you got a quick sec?" He's like, "Yeah, what's up, booger?" And I was like, "Hey, it's my first time driving for you, so I wanted to just see if there's anything I can do better, something you want to see change." He was like, "Oh no, you did fucking perfect. Don't change a thing." I'm like, "Okay," so he's just gonna yell at me the entire time. Gotcha. And that's how it was. There was only one driver, Gold. Did you guys know him? Steve Dove. He worked at Kirkuk for a little while. He worked down there in Hilla for a bit, and that was the one dude that K2 would not yell at when we were driving. Everybody else he would yell at, but he wouldn't yell at him.
I think I know. I think I know that name. I can't quite remember the face, but I do remember the name Dove.
They called Steve Dove was his real name. They called him Gold because he looked like Goldberg. Bodybuilder, kind of big dude, bald head. Good dude. I don't know whatever happened to him. He lived local in Hampton Roads. But yeah, he was an early dude in like 04 with me.
Yeah. No, that was the thing. Like, honestly, I had gotten soured by so many of the egotistical fucking tier one guys, and even some of the tier one guys were actually tier two, because I think truly defined tier one is going to be like your Team 6 and your CAG Delta Force boys. I think that's your true tier one.
Yeah, I think.
Whereas I think tier two starts at where I was at, which was like Recon, SEAL, Ranger, SF.
I heard somebody. Oh, I was
tier
going to say,
12.
I heard somebody say once, if your special operations unit made you have to wear a helmet, it probably wasn't that special. I was like, that's pretty fucking accurate.
Although the bump helmets were kind of a nice thing to wear if you're fast roping. Let me tell you, riding a fast rope slick with a lot of weight, not recommended.
I remember we
Yeah,
used to
right.
get so much trouble when we what was it we were doing and somebody fucked it up. We had to go back to wearing helmets again
Oh,
because we were all rocking ball caps and shit, and it was Billy and them started wearing them goddamn Hawaiian shirts in their vans. That's what it was. They were on
I
the
think you're
fucking
right.
they were on the fucking little shuttle missions between Lindsay and Kandahar, and it
Was
was
that
just
before
zipping around right there in the little SUVs.
was that
And
before Andy took over?
I don't remember, but they got to
Were
where
you
they
there
were.
with John Nash? Was there?
Don't remember. I don't think so.
He
No,
he
I
was a
know Andy
little
was
itty
there
bitty
when I came
guy.
in. Andy was there when I came in,
Okay,
but they were
so
wearing
I think Andy just
fucking.
got pressure.
They
Yeah,
were they were wearing like fucking blue jeans and like Converse sneakers and goddamn Bermuda shirts and shit on fucking missions.
which
They
I
They
mean,
want to
were
they want to
honestly, for
roll
those
old school
SLT
Mamba
missions,
style.
well, that's the thing. Like for
Old
those,
school Mamba style.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, the old Mamba teams, man. Those guys definitely were operating on another outside the lines, weren't they? Actually, I had a lot of jealousy for those guys because most of them couldn't hold clearances. I guess, right? I mean, I think that was,
Yeah,
they,
there was because that was one of that and IRI were pretty much the only two big non-cleared contracts BW had at the time.
but I'll tell you what, they didn't have the thumb of the fucking State Department on their neck all of the time, which that it's nice that there were plenty of job openings for it, but god damn the amount of pressure to not fuck up like something even slight. I mean, I've seen guys just get screwed over for farting, and I'm like, what do you think big fucking knuckle dragging guys gonna do in the car when you drive for an hour? I mean, you're eventually gonna fucking bust ass.
I had my OGA clearance for almost 8 years that it was being held, never fucking used it because I landed over on IRI so far from the flagpole
Yep.
and was like, nah, I'm good here.
Yeah, that was the best ones, man. Get away from the fucking flagpole.
You
Yeah.
really
Get
need
out
to,
in the fucking
man.
woods.
And even Kandahar became a flagpole of its
Yeah.
own.
That's
You
one of
know,
the things I liked about once I got to Kabul. Everybody gigged Kabul, man, but when I got back to Kabul on them alpha teams, dude, they left us the fuck alone. You know what I mean? Like, because
they had changed
we
things.
weren't living on Phoenix or anything. We were out at Gandamak too, and man, we just did whatever the fuck we wanted to do. As long as we ran our missions, nobody fucked with us.
I
I
worked on
probably should have
a
bounced about the same
4-man
time you
team.
did.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, we worked on a 4-man team for IRI there in Kabul. We had a house out in town. It was
Yeah,
just
that
us
was our
four
local.
living in
That
it.
was our MO, man. We ran 4-man teams, and
Yeah,
then
and we
if
had
we
two
had a
local
big spread,
drivers.
we'd put 2 teams together or 3 teams together or whatever. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
we'd run that way. But for the most part, yeah, we ran 4-man teams. We pushed all over that fucking town with 4-man teams.
yeah, that's what we did. We had an armored Land Cruiser that was our limo for the clients, and then we just had one of those little fucking shitty Toyota vans that was our follow.
We ran heavy. I mean, we ran up armored Land Cruisers everywhere.
Yeah,
We had the whole kit. We had everything. But that was the thing about the fucking mail contract. You know, I mean,
yeah. Well, that one there,
you were just
shit.
in the fucking woods, boy. There was no
Yeah.
fucking nothing.
No, you
Nobody
guys
was
were
coming.
rolling fucking heavy
No,
on that
it
too.
They
it was
honestly
I
should
had
have
so
paid more for
fucking.
that contract.
It's so fucking nasty, dude.
No,
Yeah,
and
this
I had some buddies that worked it, and they, we ended up doing some drug deals for some stuff to give to them because we didn't need it,
yeah.
and they definitely did on the ship. I mean, they were getting fucking. It wasn't daily con; it was like multiple contacts a day.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
so I had when that when that whole thing blew up there at Kabul when I left Blackwater for when I was asked to leave. when I left Blackwater,
invited to leave.
Yeah, I got home, man, and I fired out a shotgun blast of resumes, and Glenn Witt hit me up, and I'd
Yeah.
known Glenn Witt in Iraq, and Glenn said, "Hey, I need somebody to do a mobile gig in Afghanistan. You want to go back to Kabul?" I ain't been home about 2 days, and I was like, "Yeah." He said, "How fast can you move?" I said, "How fast can you put me on a plane?" So they flew me out to Minden. You know what I'm talking about, Dale.
Yeah. Yep. I've
And
been up there.
I was redoing my weapons and my physical, and it was so funny too because the only other contracts they had right then was, or at least doing training, was static gigs in Iraq. So they had a class of just regular Joes coming in to do their weapons and shit that were going static in Iraq, and I was the only one going mobile. And so they stuck me in with these guys and said, "Don't worry about it. Just blend in. Just shoot your shoot. Get your shit done so we can get you on a plane." And so the very first fucking day we roll out there to the range, man, and there's this fat kid, and he's wearing a Blackwater polo.
Why would you wear another company's logo? Like,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
give a shit how proud you are of that company.
Yeah.
Why would you wear some other company's logo on
Yeah.
a new gig?
So
On
I
their
ain't,
vetting?
I ain't said nothing, and then I just walked over to him. And I was like, "Man, you work for Blackwater?" He said, "Yeah, man. I was with him." I was like, "You were?" I said, "That's cool, man. I just spent 3 years. What program were you on?" And he's just kind of fucking, he's in the corner now. You know what I mean? And
Oh shit.
sorry. And he's like, "Well, I worked for him during Katrina."
The old Louisiana one.
Shit.
That's
Fuck out of here. There's only one fucking reason you wore that shirt out here.
right.
But yeah, Glenn Witt kind of
Okay.
fucked me on that one because I didn't know what I was getting into. He just literally said, "I got a mobile gig doing convoy production. You want to roll?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll take it." So I flew out to Minden, did my weapons, did my physical, left Minden and flew straight into Kabul. And hit the compound, got a fucking brief, and started running missions. And so I didn't know what the fuck I was getting into. I'd never heard
What-
about the program.
When was that? What
Nobody
year and month
fucking
was that?
briefed me. That would have been right around 11.
Okay.
It was right before I
I
came.
would have been there.
So the way it worked, I was in Iraq. You remember Mike White, right?
Yeah.
So I got Mike into contracting, got him set up. We were both in Iraq, and I was getting recruited by Global when they were first starting that mission, and Blackwater was recruiting me at the same time, and Blackwater was offering more money. So I told the people at Global, I said, "We ain't even got through I'm still in the application phase. Like, that's like the very beginning of this thing."
Yeah.
I told the lady at Global, I said, "Look, I'm sorry." I said, "I'm getting recruited by Blackwater and I'd rather go to work for them. Their offer's better, yada, yada, yada." Very polite, very cordial. I said, I do got a buddy of mine and he'd be interested in the gig. And I gave him Mike White. Mike White wound up coming to work for Global. So he was one of the very first people that Global hired because I got them put together that way.
Right.
So when the whole thing with Blackwater ended and I went to work doing the mail contract for SOC, I hit up Global. And the recruiter told Mike, was like, "There's no fucking way we're hiring him. He had his chance." And I was like, "What?" Like, this bitch was
You
holding a
hooked him up.
grudge like 3 or 4 years later because I turned down a contract with them. Not that they'd spent any money recruiting me, not that they'd paid for its clearance, sponsorship, just because I turned down a gig. And so literally, I took the gig with SOC, and I was working with SOC, and then she got left. I don't know whatever happened. She wasn't working there anymore, and Mike hit me back up and said, "Hey, that chick is gone now." And he got a hold of Bolts, and Bolts got my resume and pushed it through. And
Nice.
Mike and them actually drove over to the mail contract to that compound. I put my shit in Global's vehicles and drove right back over to the old villa, or
Nice.
the old new villa, the new old villa. I don't remember. One of the old villas.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because we had the old villa, the old villa, the old new villa.
That's funny because wasn't that right around the same time John Kane was an in-country hire for Global as well?
I really don't
Because I know he got hired because Chris McCartan got
me and
John
Gordo
Kane
came
over.
in together.
Oh, okay.
Me and Gordo came in the same day.
And now Gordo, he didn't come from Sock. Was he ever at Sock?
I don't know if
think he was.
He wasn't with us. He wasn't with us. I don't know if he came in, but I'm just saying when
I think when I was with
he came in with me.
Yeah, I think was when I was with Blackwater, Gordo was with Triple Canopy. And then I think when they shut down Triple Canopy up in, I want to say Kirkuk, is when Gordo crossed over to Blackwater. And then probably right around that same time is when I left Blackwater, well, got fired from Blackwater and went over to Sock. But yeah, it was funny because they started doing in-country hires for Global. And I was like, see, now that's smart. Because guys, they get to a contract, find out a shit, getting shit paid, shit gear, whatever the reason is. It's a shit assignment, whatever the reason is. I'm like, but I remember when Triple Canopy was just like, I was trying to do a crossover to a State Department gig for them when I was with SOC. And then their recruiter, like, it was going to be an in-country thing. Like, I was meeting with this guy, Triple Canopy. He's like, dude, we need to have you. We need a medics, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, cool. So then I talked to the recruiter. He's like, "Oh, well, you're already working for SOC," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm on salary. I'm not on a contract." He's like, "Well, just contact me when your contract's over." I'm like, "The only way my contract's over with SOC is if I quit. I'm not quitting a gig and then submitting my resume to you to hopefully get hired, to hopefully go on a fucking gig, because I know how you guys work. You guys put guys on the bench for fucking months at a time." So either you want to hire me and put me on a gig, or we're not even having this conversation. He's like, "Well, we're not fishing in somebody else's pond." I'm like, "I came to you, asshole. What do you not get?" And he's just like, "Well, you're just still in somebody else." I'm like, "You know what? Fuck off. You're retarded. You don't even know what the fuck you're doing. Apparently, you didn't pass fucking 5th grade. Get the fuck out of here." But it was that kind of attitude that was fucking up contracting, because you have these dumbasses that don't know what it's like downrange to go from one gig to another.
Yeah. I jumped onto one gig outside of kind of the BW umbrella. And what was that? 2011, 2012 timeframe, somewhere around there. I went to work for the Sandy Group for a contract.
Ooh, the Sandy Group.
Yeah. So I ended up.
You must have been hurting for money.
Oh yeah, no, because that thing was only paying, I think it was $4 a day in Kabul.
They had the worst reputation. They were just right below Custer Battles.
Yeah,
as far as pay, but they were above Custer Battles as far as reputation.
Well, so it was a guy, it was a BW guy that hooked me up with it. So what it was basically me and one other guy. We had a house right behind Spinny's, right there in Kabul, the little grocery store.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was like a street behind that, like as you're heading out towards I forget whose house it was, one of the warlord dudes. Anyhow, but all we were doing was we were vetting all of
his house was on
folks.
the corner down there. There was always the guards out front.
Well, and so we were actually vetting the fucking Afghanis that were going to the fucking SOC contract to move the fucking mail is what we were doing. But so we're supposed to be doing that, but we're not fucking legally authorized to carry. So, we're running around dirty all around Kabul. We had I won't mention his name, but he was over at Eggers, who was he was a Marine type staff NCO who would transport some weapons out there to the range for us to conduct our training in exchange for us to doing some off the records PSD training for his PSD team that was doing the
Nice.
general of Camp Eggers. But yeah, it was a total fucking clusterfuck. I ended up living in Dubai for a month, but they were paying an in-country wage and covering all expenses, so wasn't too bad. But yeah, that was, as soon as I could, I got off of that fucking contract. I showed up in Dubai for the interview. Basically had the job, but I had to go and meet these guys. I go to a fucking hotel room in this fucking super nice hotel, and it's these two dudes that look like they would be, like on a security detail for a rapper. Like two of the largest African American dudes that I've seen. They're
I
up
don't know
there
where
just
this story's
partying it
going,
up.
but I don't think I want you to finish the story.
Well, they're up there partying it up in this hotel,
You're
and I
getting paid to
show
go
up,
to a hotel in a foreign country to meet two big black dudes.
I'm thinking it's a fucking
You need to
job
get to a
interview.
point.
I'm fucking.
You-
I
do,
look
do you
like
still have
Ned
the knot on the back of your
Flanders.
head?
I looked like Ned Flanders with khakis and a polo shirt tucked in. Fucking showing up thinking it's a fucking job interview, and these dudes are fucking partying it up, making fun of me, and I'm like, what the? And these are upper management. I'm like, what the fuck have I gotten into?
Well,
So-
you know what? I mean, it does not surprise me because there were so many fly-by-night companies, and
Oh,
Sandy
yeah.
Group was one of them. Like Tiger Swan was right on the cusp of that too. Like I remember those guys.
Well, they started
Won't be
off with
quiet
good
about Tiger
intentions.
Swan.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna bite my
What-
tongue on Tiger Swan.
What about Tiger Swan?
I said I'm just gonna bite my tongue on that one.
Oh yeah. Well, shit. I mean, any of these companies, any hate they get, they kind of brought it on themselves.
Typically.
I mean, they had Goombas fucking running their shit show, fucking trying to run around without any authorizations, letters of understanding, or no memorandums or anything, and you're just like, what the fuck were you thinking? Like, I mean, you're dealing with the U.S. government, for crying out loud.
Oh, looking back, I at the time I was like, okay, we're just gonna make the mission happen. So, we carried concealed, didn't roll too heavy and whatnot. But looking back on it now, I'm like, man, if we'd have gotten popped at a police checkpoint, carrying concealed weapons when we don't have an LOI or any of this shit, I'd have been in a lot of fucking trouble in a foreign country. For
Yeah,
what?
most of those fucking checkpoints, you could just bullshit your way through them anyway.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know them fucking things. I remember one day we were out with we were
Was it
out
the Ring of Steel.
Yeah, we were out and they had thrown up a fucking checkpoint, and we weren't loaded, but we were on the way to get some clients, so we were rolling heavy. And one of them hits me up, and they're like, "Hey doc, I think we had like a 4 Vic move, and this guy's wanting cash, won't see our papers." I'm like, "Deal with it." He hit me back up, "Hey doc, this guy won't stop." It's okay. I jump out of that motherfucker and I go rolling up through there, dude. And I'm screaming from the time I get out of the fucking car. And I'm up there grabbing people and pushing these fucking Afghan militaries and screaming at them and poking them and yelling. And they like, okay, no problem, no problem. And we just roll right through after that. So I developed the attitude of stop saying please. Stop saying fucking thank you, because these motherfuckers only understand one thing: aggression. And the
Oh,
more
yeah.
aggressive you are, the more fucking violent you are, the more they fucking listen. So that
To an
was-
extent,
That's
there's the
true.
same with there's the same with the Africans. We had that we had the saying firm but fair. You have to be firm. And you'd have so many of these Americans that were just like trying to be extra nice and believe in all the sob stories, like, oh, I'm like, no, he has plenty of money. He could afford to buy the fucking camera in the PX, but the colonel that runs the base doesn't want them having recording devices. So he's not allowed to buy it. That's why he's fucking working you young dumb
Yeah.
shit.
I learned real quick when I got to South Sudan, and because I was just a security manager. We weren't running a PSD team or anything like that. I just detailed local drivers to take them to their appointments. Every now and again, I'd tag along, but
Right.
I tried to be, nice and all of that to my what I think I had 7 or 8 local drivers on staff. And I learned
Yeah.
real quick, you give even just the tiniest little inch and they're just going to run with it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, it's going to be like that. And then I had to just start ruling with an iron fist, which I don't fucking like. It's not my personality, but that was the only way I could deal with them. Started dinging them, hitting them in their paychecks and shit like that.
The
Yeah.
bad thing is that shit follows you home, or it did for me anyway.
Mm.
I remember right after I first got home, almost a fucking decade of that shit. And my kids, we were going to do something. I was going to show them, I don't know, some martial arts. We were training. I don't remember. There was something going on. And I was talking to them in what I considered just a normal tone. And they started crying. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
And my wife was like, God, do you hear yourself? And
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, but like it didn't even occur to me at any point. I'd been conditioned to the point where the way that we talked, that was normal. You know what I mean? And I think that's the thing is that you get into that lifestyle and you live it for so long, and then everything that becomes reality. And
Yeah.
this is sort of the dream, and then you come back and you're like, oh, what do you mean I can't drink all night, run around and shoot at people and kick people in the face? I mean, what are you talking about? Now
Taking the
I'm a
fun out of the
savage.
job.
Now I'm a savage. The very thing that made me a rock star over there makes me a horrible fucking human back here. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to throttle that.
Well, and the thing is that we came back to a society that became more progressive in our absence, and we didn't see the subtle changes. We would see it like in big chunks because we'd gone for a period of time and it would move enough, and we're just like, oh, this is bullshit. And so then when we're home for any prolonged period of time, like we are now, it's hard to it's really hard to grasp that level of kindness, as it were. Like now that they've gotten to this point of like talking about pronouns and shit, and yeah, it is starting to annoy what we would call normal people. But I'm just like, look, maybe there is a certain amount of toxic masculinity and maybe a certain amount of gruffness that's necessary to even a civilized society to keep people acting right, because now you got these uber sensitive people that can't even handle a bad joke, and then you got all the predators, like criminals and these fucking crazy drug addicts and shit running around that are the antithesis to that, and nowhere do you see toxic masculinity trying to keep the order. Like even the police are a fucking bunch of spineless pussies, with the exception of the few that are keeping quiet because they just want to finish off their retirement and not be fucked with. And I feel for them, but at the same token, I'm like, look, motherfucker, you took an oath, and last time I checked, your oath still included upholding constitutional law, right? So quit fucking over, people that are actually trying to do the right thing. But it's turning, but I'm curious as to what that turn is going to look like, because I feel like we're going to see the pushback scenario, and when I talk about the pushback scenario, it's like you've had these progressives that have kind of pushed at the far right, the religious right of the '80s, and they pushed, and so it was kind of like, okay, you backed up and be like, hey, what are you doing? And they push again. It's like, all right, look, you got away with it once, don't do it again.
We got to
And now, what?
We got to rename that.
What, the pushback? Or
yeah, we got to come up with a better name.
You fucking call it whatever you want, asshole. I just came. Look, no,
Well, it
the
has to do with
pushback.
assholes.
The pushback.
It just came.
it- the pushback is they finally get tired of being pushed around. They push back twice as hard, and so then you're going to see an authoritarian right. What? Oh, now I see what your fucking problem is. You fucking queerdo.
12-year-olds.
You just
That's
now saw it.
that's
You
what
just
your
now
mind
saw
went
my
to.
problem.
That's what your mind went to. That says more about you than it says about me.
I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that.
That's why I
No
said
argument
pushback
there.
has to do with assholes.
Fucking bunch of homos.
A bunch of goddamn children.
Yep.
Definitely. But don't mix the
A
two.
bunch of homos.
Oh shit.
No offense to the homos out there.
Yeah, I mean, we're okay with you just being gay. We just don't want you putting it in our face, and especially our kids' face.
Or trying to bite me.
I don't know. I like a little nibble now and then.
I don't want any gay poison in my veins.
You know that's not how it works, right?
Well, I ain't no
Like a
scientist.
vampire.
I never
gays
said
are
I
like
was a
vampires.
scientist.
They come out at night. They bite you to fucking trans.
It's something about
Holy
garlic.
shit.
I can't remember the whole.
Definitely shiny
shit.
skin.
Yeah, 'cause, you know, they all grow ponytails and they all wear that white makeup on their faces and they all do their nails.
So is it me, or was Twilight more about, the gay culture than it was the vampire culture?
Yeah,
I remember. You remember that
Oh.
movie, Interview with a Vampire?
Yeah.
that was a good one.
Yeah. Well, I remember when that movie came out, I remember him being interviewed on Oprah. And this guy stands up in the crowd to ask him a question. He said something like, as a gay man, I just wanted to say thank you for making this movie and blah, blah. It keeps going on and on. And like, when did you know your character was gay? And Tom Cruise goes, what are you talking about, dude? It was just a vampire movie. I forget what it was. It's like the guy was just like completely deflated. He was like, just a
Wait,
vampire
what?
movie, dude. No one's gay.
Well, to be fair to him, Anne Rice actually said that it was overtly
Not arguing
Culture.
that point. I'm just saying, like the conversation. I wish I knew where the clip was. Conversation. The guy was just like deflated as shit. It was funny as hell.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the thing. Like, he's assuming that's the way Tom Cruise read it, and I even read the books. When I was in high school when they came out, and I read them, and I thought it was about vampires. But that's the thing. Like, if you read it through a certain lens, then you're going to see whatever you're going to see through those lenses. But if you just read it for the sake of reading it, to you it comes off of, no, this was about
Is
vampires.
this book series maybe the genesis for the pushback scenario?
Oh God.
See, I read the
Motherfucker.
books and I didn't
Fucker.
get like an overtly gay vibe off of it. I don't know.
You said you were covertly gay. What'd you say?
I said I read the books. No, but I read the books after I had seen the movie, though. But
Oh,
yeah, I mean, I didn't get any like overt like homosexual like vibe off of it. If
Well,
she's saying that she,
Anne Rice was kind of writing it almost like a romance novel done with vampires.
Somewhere out
I mean-
there, there's a village of queers out there, Dale, and they're all like holding up signs. You're their fucking hero right now. You know that?
Shit you not. So I was with Blackwater up in Kurdistan. Fucking hilarious, right? We were staying at this big hotel. That was where our base of operations was at in Sulaymaniyah. And it was snowing outside. We had gotten some kind of a threat assessment. I don't know what the threat was specifically, but we were told we got to jock up and go show a presence. And so, we're posting at doors, we're posting around the lobby. And so I'm down in the main lobby and there was a wedding going on. And this fucking like 14 or 15-year-old kid just walks right up to me and he just starts talking to me. He's like, Mister, you're a very, very strong man. And I said, hey, thanks, kid. He's like, your muscles are very big. And I'm starting to get this vibe off of him. And I'm like, fuck. Yeah, this kid's going to keep talking to me if I
Pushback
keep
there.
responding. Yeah. And I've got every dude in my fucking earpiece going, hey, Dale, looks like you got a new fan down there. And I'm like, yep, I sure do. And they're busting my chops. This kid's like enamored with me. And I'm like, fuck, get me out of here. Please get me the fuck out of here. Like, can we stand down yet? And
He said, Mister, you like gladiator movies.
dude, I'm telling you, man, it was like that
You
creep
like
factor. Like,
wrestling?
Yes.
I'm
How
just-
you
I'm
feel
crawling
about
up.
wrestling?
yeah.
You ever
I-
seen a
I'm-
grown
I'm
man
sure-
naked?
I'm sure I've got a pretty good gay fan base out there. So you know what? Admire all you want, just don't touch me.
You got one right here, buddy.
Well, you like to give mouth hugs, you know.
I do give mouth hugs. $20, $20. You know what I'm saying?
Right?
Wait, do I owe you money?
Yes. You still owe me $100.
Only 100?
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
fine.
you gave me a vet discount.
Nah,
Wait a minute, you haven't been giving me a discount. Bullshit.
Well, that's because you returned the favor.
True.
I don't know how that works out. I just thought I'd say that.
we had a cat that was on the ABP program. They brought in cops to do the law enforcement side. We had a guy that came in there, and everybody knew he was gay. Nobody really gave a shit, to my knowledge, but everybody
Right.
just tell by his mannerisms. Very
Sure.
feminine, you know. So he's been there for a couple of months. We were in Kabul. He'd been there for long enough for people to know who he was. And we're in Kabul, and he was out processing, so he was leaving like the next day. So he's walking around in civvies, but he's wearing pants, these jeans that are like bedazzled on the pockets. And so I'm like, that's fucking queer as shit, dude. And I told one of the guys at the table, I was like, man, that dude's fucking queer. He's got to be queer. And he goes, you don't know, do you? Fucking know what? He's like, dude, he was on Facebook. Like he lives with a guy. He's getting married to a guy or something like that. I was like, oh, well, I guess it settles it then.
Called it.
I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He comes back over to the table, and everybody's fucking mortified. But Dale knows me pretty good, so I look at him. I said, "Are you fucking getting married to a dude? Like everybody says you're gay. Are you gay?" And so, like the whole fucking table's like, you could have heard a pin drop now because everybody's like, "You don't just ask somebody this shit."
Unless you're John.
Don't
Newman.
advertise it then.
He's like, no, I'm not gay. Why would you say that? And I was like, look, dude, nobody gives a fuck if you're gay. I don't give a shit who you sleep with. I'm just asking a fucking question because everybody's talking about it. I thought you would respect somebody just asking you the goddamn question instead of talking about you behind your fucking back. So I'm just asking you straight out.
Right.
He's like, no. All right, whatever, man. Quit dressing like a fucking fag. So a little while later, we're fucking hanging out. And we're at this other table there, and we're all bullshitting it. He comes up and he sits down. And he says, "Hey, man, Looney, I want to talk to you." I said, "What's up, man?" He said, "I owe you an apology. I lied to you earlier. I am in a relationship with a man. We've been together for, whatever, 15 years or whatever, and blah, blah, blah." And he said, "Man, I'm sorry. I just didn't want you to judge me." I was like, "Man, I don't give a fuck. Do whatever you do, man. It ain't got shit to do with me." You know
Right.
what I mean? Just own it, just fucking own it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was the end of that. But yeah, I mean, I don't give a
It
fuck.
affects me zero.
Dude, John Kane's one of my best friends.
I know, right? And he's a badass killer,
You goddamn right. Killed more people than smallpox.
right?
But man, John Kane, I can call that motherfucker today and he'll just say, what do you need?
John Kane even took it up a notch. He was telling me about how there was another dude. I think this was when he was still with Blackwater. He was talking about another dude who had expressed an attraction to one of the guys on the team.
No, that was the dude I'm talking about.
Oh, really?
No, John Kane was with me. That was our team. All that was going on there.
Yeah. So he was talking about
He
the story
actually
where
told John Kane something to the effect of, "Look at him coming in here looking all nice," or something like that.
Yeah.
He said something real, and John
Yes.
Kane turned to him. He's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" or something, and got his fucking ate his shit right there. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
He
all.
like,
I was that was the whole thing. Was that was it?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because John had told that story over at Global. He was like, "Yeah, dude. First of all, John, he likes himself. What was how do you describe it? The petite, twink. I don't know if you said the Hispanics or the Asian dudes, but that's his bent. So obviously there weren't too many of those on contract anyways. But outside of that, John was like, dude, you never ever look at our dudes, in that light, because they're teammates. You don't do that. And that was his rule, like, you never fuck around with the guys you work with. And I can respect that, I mean, because John knew that guys didn't give a shit about what your proclivity was. Just don't make you fucking uncomfortable when you're downrange.
Yeah, I'm not taking a shower with you or anything.
Just like, you don't want to be like, if you had a shooter female on the team, like, don't go fucking around with her. Like that's just going to create drama. I know there were dudes who did it, and it would always result in the same thing: fucking drama on the team. Why do it?
100%. Every time.
Every fucking time.
Did you
Even
guys know
the client?
Did you guys know the story of Stephen White, Blanco?
Well, Blanco
So
sounds. Yeah,
he was a BW dude. I met him in 05 up in Bozel, and nobody ever even like knew that he was gay or anything. But apparently, like at home, he met some dude at a like gay bar, and they went to a hotel, and I guess the dude was either high on something. I don't even know what the deal was, but basically fucking like got ashamed of himself that he was doing a gay act or something, but stabbed him like a whole bunch of times and set him on fire and left him for dead. He actually lived for a day or two after that before he actually ended up dying. But yeah, I mean, fucking crazy shit. Like, what's the fucking point of that? All because of, I don't even know, latent homosexuality.
See, that's where I do get, where I do take issue with if your values are so corrupted. And those, I mean, it's probably a misuse of the term saying values, because those aren't really values. That's a fucking psychological corruption there. But the point is that some people will see, well, these are my values, and this is, pushing up against my value set. It's like, no, you have a personal issue with how you are seeing yourself, or how you're concerned about others seeing you. And there's a lot of, I mean, I'm sure John in his master's degree could probably unpeel that a little bit better than I can, but
I could, but I don't want to make you sound stupid, so keep going.
Well, now it's too late. You already peeled the layer off that one. So I'm stupid. Let's just go with it.
Right.
Don't you need to be in the crayon somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, like nobody on
I'm
the
out of
team
red.
ever knew that he
I'm
was
out of
gay,
red.
because he didn't put that out there. It wasn't, just he was a quiet dude anyway, but then for him to just fucking die senselessly because of that shit, worked overseas, did fucking survived all of that, and then got, killed by somebody that was scared of their own sexuality or whatever the fucking case was.
Yeah, I always said that's kind of shit's gonna happen to me though. After everything, it's gonna be he slipped and hit his head in the shower. You know what I mean? Fucking
Reaching for an Oreo, one of those shower Oreos.
got a fucking
something really stupid.
Got stung by a bee, or it'll be some goddamn stingray attack, some fucking off the wall shit. It'll be nothing.
Well,
nothing.
At least with a stingray attack, you get to die like Steve Irwin. I mean,
right? Yeah,
I just meant something
kind of a.
weird. Yeah,
that's got some coolness behind it.
I mean, now you got to.
I've been having issues for a while with and I know you and I've talked about it a bunch, about every time I eat carbs,
Yeah.
it just fucks with me, fucks with me, fucks
Right.
with me. And so I'm like, okay. Well, then one of my friends mentioned celiac disease. And so I start looking into this, and like I take this online quiz, which obviously ain't nothing, but I hit 8 out of 10 markers on that. And so I'm thinking maybe that's got something to do with the way the carbs hit me. Maybe it's not just carbs, maybe it's the gluten that I'm allergic to. Because I'm allergic to every fucking thing that walks, crawls, or
Are you
moves.
coming out as vegan now?
No, but I think I might have a little
Vegan
bit of
adjacent.
celiac disease for real.
No,
So now
I'm just trying
I'm trying to rid myself of gluten and see how I respond to this. But I'm sitting here thinking, like, I used to be really fucking dangerous, and now I'm sitting here afraid to eat wheat. And what the fuck
Were you
does
ever a
that
big
say
beer
about my
drinker?
evolution? You know what I mean? Like, now I'm afraid to eat bread. I'm afraid
Were
of a
you ever a big
cracker.
beer drinker?
No, I don't drink beer. Even when I
Well, I know
used to,
you don't
though, I would
now.
drink. Even when I drank beer, though, like if I would drink like 5 beers, I'd wake up the next morning and my fucking eyes would be all puffy, my hands would be swollen and shit. Like, and so I think I just have a real bad, and I don't think I've ever been diagnosed because I've never chased it. But now I'm thinking, man, it makes a lot of sense.
That's why I was curious if
well,
beer ever affected you when you were drinking.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it did.
Yeah, no, man, that sounds like it.
well, that's the thing. Like, as you start to get a little older, you're one less resilient, but two, you got to appreciate comfort where you can get it because you know that there's going to be times where you can't control your own comfort. Like, I remember I came home from Iraq, and we were living in Orange County, California, and it's wintertime, and I'm sitting there, on my couch, and I'm like, man, it feels a little cool in here. I'm like,
Balmy 72 degrees.
no, no. So I think it might have been probably like 65 degrees outside or
Oh,
whatever.
that's
I mean,
winter time. That's winter in it, book.
yeah, that
Right?
is. So I get up and I go look at the thermostat. I go look at the thermostat, and it says 68 degrees, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I turn that bitch up to 72, and so it starts to get a little warmer in the house, and I'm like, there we go. That's you know. So my wife comes down, and she looks at the thermostat, and she goes, Did you turn this up? And I'm like, yeah, it was fucking chilly in here. She goes, chilly? Didn't you go to like SEAL training and weren't you recon or some shit? And I'm like, look, just because I can tolerate the cold doesn't mean I want to live in the cold. Fuck that. You know, and, I think that's like pretty much every dude. You know, it's like, yeah, I mean, sure, I could be uncomfortable in my gut, and or I can fucking be cold or hot or whatever, but it doesn't mean I want to live like that. Fuck that shit.
It's
Yeah.
true.
No, we all understand every single emotion you've ever had. So like we get it. Because I think I lived with you for a few years, and it seems like I remember that seems like I remember you pretty much didn't really kind of like hide your feelings
You know
under
what?
under a lampshade or anything.
A lot of that was a facade, motherfucker. Okay, you can kiss my ass. I was trying to pull off a loony.
I don't
I just
remember
did.
you being a closed book, a riddle wrapped in an enigma, shrouded in mist. You want to know how
You.
Dave feels? Fucking ask him.
No, most of the time you can see it on my face.
That ain't no shit. I think we all learn to live like that, though. Just wear it.
Yeah, that is a kind of an unfortunate side effect of no social decorum. Which, I mean, there's an argument to be had, for the need of social decorum.
Yeah.
I don't think we got anything accomplished on this episode. Do you?
Except that
I
Dale's
don't even know what the
stupid.
fuck we talked about.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that.
We probably just ought to bank this one and hold it for a rainy day and come back and do something with a point. This was 98 minutes of incoherent babbling.
I do know that Aaron's been begging for us to do a live stream so he can fuck with you in the chat. Maybe we'll have to consider opening up a live stream version of this.
I don't know if you can. Can you? Can you do that?
Well, not from what is it, Zoom? Not from Zoom.
I think we got to have more than 3 followers, so it's going to take a little while.
Yeah, because we
We're
would
up
have
to
to
2
do it
now, I
through something that would like broadcast to like YouTube or Facebook,
We
or
need
we'd
some-
all have to be at the same
We need
location.
some catchy thing. So what we're going to do is I'm going to pretend that I dislike you. And I'm going to say something really razor sharp and cutting and sort of just blowing way out of proportion. And then we're going to use that as our cutaway to make people click it. So it'll be something like, I can't fucking believe that you wouldn't tie your goddamn bicycle to the fucking front porch. You know what I mean? But say it in such a just manner. And now you clip that in and everybody's going to be like, what's he talking about? What's with the front porch? Now we're getting bait. Clickbait. That's what that is. Science.
What happened with the bike on the porch?
Now he's interested. See?
I'm so confused.
We got a lot of that. We got a lot of that when we cut out on that first Zoom call. I remember that. What
Yeah,
the fuck
yeah,
happened
right.
with? What the fuck happened with Looney as a team leader?
That's awesome. All right. Well, y'all keep being gay. Work on
Always.
that pushback.
It's Pride Month, you intolerant fag.
You can't call me a fag. I'm not.
It's my word.
Fair point.
Wait. No, I'm married to the black woman. You're the gay one. That's right. I got to get this straight.
I thought June was Mental Health Awareness Month.
You thought Jew was what?
I thought he said Jew too. I was like, what the fuck? Why are we bringing up the Jews now?
We did the Jews
That's
on
our
the last
cutaway.
episode. We did the Jews on the last episode.
I had grapes in my mouth. No, I thought June was Mental Health Month, like Awareness Month.
Is it? I don't know. Nobody sent me a letter.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm tired of everything needing a fucking month. I mean, a day,
that's what I'm saying.
maybe a week, but a fucking
seems
month,
like
go
there's
fuck yourself.
Well, now they're double dipping.
I want
Yeah.
Anglo
Well,
hetero.
I think that they got two
Well,
for
I want
1
hetero
month now.
Anglo Pride Month.
Well, that's the thing. They've done so many of these months now. It's all starting to lose any meaning. You know,
Yeah.
anything that actually has gravitas. I mean, who gives a shit? Like,
Yeah.
I know you're gay all year, not just in June.
Yeah, no one cares.
Yeah, and they,
And-
you know, they mean specific things if Mercury's in retrograde or not. I
Right?
don't even know.
And we know Booger's crazy all year, so not just in June.
Not just in
Yeah,
June.
nothing to do with the lunar cycle. It's just all the time.
All the time. 24/7, 365. Do you like that rap
Ah.
video?
Oh my
Dude.
lord!
Skills.
I'm gonna watch it again.
You know, she probably was like, I think this is some bomb shit, and people are just watching it because it's like watching a train wreck, dubbed in
Yep.
entertainment value.
Oh, dude, there are so many of those people on TikTok that I get when I'm scrolling through, and it's like you can watch their live, and it's just them singing karaoke, and they fucking suck so bad. It's
So do they
funny.
expect that they're gonna
Because
get
they're like standing
discovered?
there singing this horrible fucking shit, and they're like, "Thank you for the rose." Yeah, you know what I mean? Like they're all cool, and it's always some fat, blubbery fucking white dude in a cowboy hat. You know what I mean? Look like he just got off a fucking horse, although it had to be a goddamn Clydesdale to carry his fat ass. But I mean, it's just like you fucking suck. And if you tell them they suck, people are like, "You need to spread positivity," and I'm like, "I'm positive. You like,
Positive, he sucks.
pretty goddamn sure of it, dude. That's my thing, man. Some people need to be bullied.
Yeah. Quite honestly,
Some people need to be bullied. If you
Well-
don't agree with that, fuck you.
they're only bullied because their friends aren't doing the fucking service they've been enlisted for, which is to tell the truth. I mean,
Yeah, you're supposed to
Correct.
help raise that fucking idiot.
I mean, all my friends tell the truth. I know we tell John the truth. Like, hey, John, don't dye your fucking beard again, ever. Like,
Yeah.
seriously.
Really, we're going back to that.
I'm
Yeah,
just
I sent a
saying.
video. I sent a video of me singing to you guys, and it sucked. And I said, "Hey, what's your opinion?" You'd be like, "Dude, don't quit your day job."
Yeah, not
Yeah.
one piece
Like,
of
burn
shit.
that fucking video.
Yeah,
one
like don't
inch.
show that to anyone else.
Talking about they can't take a joke.
Right. I would have
Yeah.
more respect for her if she
I'm
had
not
said,
sure if that's a
her
train
put-
or a tornado. So if I'm not here in a minute, you'll know why.
Nice.
No, it's a tornado.
yeah. Been there, done that.
Train.
But you're in a trailer, and remember, they're tornado magnets.
They
Yeah.
are.
What's that old joke about? What's the difference between a tornado and an Alabama divorce?
I haven't heard it.
Either way, somebody losing a trailer.
That's true.
I don't know.
Yep.
That may not be 100% right, but something like that.
Got the gist of it.
But I was gonna say, I would have
You
more
gotta
respect for
stand
that
on
chick.
the bridge. One said water
If-
deep, other says cold.
You know, Looney would have been bad at recon because he would never have looked back to see where we came from. So that way, when we exfil, we know where to go. He would have been like, "Hey, here's the RP." Looney would be like, "I'd never go back." He never goes back to a subject. Fucking horrible.
I have no idea what that's a reference to.
I think Bugs does.
It sounds very prejudicial though. And this is supposed to be a month of tolerance. You in
Prejudice.
so
No, it's very judicial. I'm judging.
yeah, maybe.
I'm not, I
All
didn't
right.
preface anything.
I'm done.
I know you are. I can see it in your eyes.
Can
It's
you?
all in your eyes.
All right, we'll pick it up next time. Y'all have a good night.
You too.